Thank you, Lee. So welcome everybody to our webinar for Alaska departures. I am happy to be here with Alistair, and hopefully Tudor will be able to join us as well. And well, just to get us started, this is going to be our agenda for today's talk. We are going to have an introduction, then we're going to have an overview of the expedition, advise you on what to put on your packing list or in your suitcase. We will talk about the wildlife, the science and education program on board, the activities that are included, and the additional activities. We will show you a quick images of our onboard facilities, and then we will share practical information to end up with a Q&A session. And today, Tudor, hopefully he will manage to join us. He is our HX ambassador. And Alistair and I here present. Alistair is the Director of Expedition Operations, and I am the Chief Scientist for HX. So our expeditions, we pride ourselves of having or offering the perfect balance on this kind of travel. Our ships offer the comfort that you are looking for in such a trip, while not limiting you on the amount of adventure that we will offer. And all of that taking also into consideration the sustainability of our trips. We have an unmatched expedition expertise. We have designed our trips based on the destinations and we have planned also our itineraries based on that. And our ships are designed specifically for the trips that we are offering. We also pride ourselves to now offer an all-inclusive experience, meaning that you can just come on board, relax, and enjoy the trip. We have a boutique hotel feeling on all of our ships with this very Nordic design touches everywhere. We are also offering a informal, comfortable experience on board, so you don't need to bring along how do you call them? These well, you don't need to be dressed up fancy. You can just be comfortable and enjoy. Also for the dinners and nightlife, we also offer sorry, we have a spa, and we have 2 whirlpools and a swimming pool. The restaurants, we have 3 restaurants on board where you can choose to have all your meals at them. We are also very proud of have launched the first 2 hybrid ships in the industry. And I see that Morgan is back, so I am going to hand it back to you to talk about sustainability, since you were heading this for a while.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Apologies, everyone. Best laid plans. First time that's happened to us whilst doing a webinar, but luckily Plan B with Verena is great. Right, so yeah, as part of the core of HX is sustainability, and that doesn't just mean trying to reduce our emissions, but also our impact through also investment in things like hybrid vessels, but also how we act on board. So you'll see that when you're on board, whether it's through our partnership with Ocean Bottles, our recycled guest jackets that we'll be giving you, but all very much a key part of what we do. The one issue now, Verena, sorry for everyone, is that you now have control of the deck. So you'll have to either guess when to move forwards, or we'll swap the share.
So you want to?
Yeah, that's okay.
I think we've lost Tudor. Oh, there we go.
That's okay. Are we still okay? Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Since October, we became all inclusive. So it means when you're on board, you don't have to dip your hands in your pockets, and every day-to-day need is there. But there are some optional extras that we will talk about as we go through the expedition. The coverage now we're going to be talking about through this webinar covers a number of different itineraries, all Alaska based. We have the northbound 12-night trip from Vancouver up to Seward, and then we have the southbound reverse of that trip. We have the longer trips, again from Vancouver all the way up to Nome through this incredibly massive state of the US. Then we also have the southbound, which is also done by Nansen after she's completed the Northwest Passage. So we're covering all these itineraries on this trip. And as Lee said at the start, we asked you for your pre-questions, and we have received an incredible amount of questions, more than any other webinar. So thank you all very much for that. Our aim is to try and cover those questions in this webinar. Of course, you've already booked up to the trip, so you know what you're buying. And the aim of this trip, this webinar, is to prepare you to answer some of those questions. And we will go through it at the end, but approximately about 30 days before you leave, you will get your voyage documentation with more information. But just to sort of prepare you for your trip now, on board our ships, the dress code, as Verena mentioned, is very informal. So when you're on board, you don't need fancy clothes. The main thing is that you are comfortable. So you wear what you feel comfortable in, including, but please remember that you'll be going from inside the ship, which is a nice air-conditioned ship, roughly 20 degrees Celsius. I'm trying to think of the conversion. Alistair will help me out what 20 Celsius is in Fahrenheit, because he's spent many years living in Alaska, so hence having him on the call with us. But the important thing is you're going to be going from the ship inside to also spending as much time as you'd like out on outer decks, enjoying the incredible scenery and wildlife. So that comfort level from going in and out to the ship is very important. With that as well, having lots of layers is important. Sunglasses, of course, camera, small backpack for when you go ashore. And Verena, what's the most important thing that our guests should have with them, that we say from all our expedition team and people that go?
Binoculars. Do not forget those. It allows you to have a more personalized experience when looking for wildlife as well. Yeah.
And Tudor, to answer your question, it's 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you, Alistair. We have had some questions about power on the ship. Of course, you'll be operating in US waters and Canadian waters, but the ships were built in Europe. So they are European type C plugs. There are also direct USB-C plugs in all the cabins. So the ships are well fitted out for power. When you go off the ship for off-ship activities, then of course, again, that layer principle is very important. Having walking shoes, comfortable shoes, whether they be slightly walking boots, but walking shoes are important. Again, comfort. We also have on board available to loan you for the duration of the trip if needed. Rubber boots. They're like a muck type neoprene rubber boot. So if needed, we have those on board. But of course, these itineraries, there is an element of walking. So yeah, comfortable shoes. The other thing that we recommend is some places we go to are smaller, and so some local currency is very useful. Some US dollars, but also we do a stop in Canada, so some Canadian dollars, but just small amounts if you do want to buy some gifts, some arts and crafts, or even have a coffee. So those are important things. Again, layer principles. We've also received lots of questions about medicals. Do I need a medical to come on this trip? No, you do not. There is no requirement for a medical screening form, unlike Antarctica, which we do need there. So it's a bit of confusion, but Alaska, no medical screening is required. But please do, of course, like everywhere else you go on holiday, bring your medication with you. Travel with some medication in hand luggage, because some airlines do like to misplace our bags for a period of time. So just be prepared, the same as if you're going on holiday elsewhere, with essentials and medication. If you do worry or you are concerned about seasickness, then please do, again, bring some medication for that. Different recommendations, whether it be ginger pills, patches, or whatever works for you. Generally, these waters, I'm correct in saying, Alistair, that they're fairly calm in a passage, just maybe a bit more exposed on the sailings up to Nome. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when you're sailing through the inside passage, it's almost entirely sheltered, so people have kayaked it. It's usually very, very calm in there. When you cross the Gulf of Alaska, that can be the one day where it can get a little bit more choppy. And indeed, if you're heading up to the Bering Sea, up to Nome, I definitely recommend it. The Bering Sea is very shallow, which means if the wind does blow, it can get quite rough quite quickly. So definitely do recommend bringing some medication on that one.
And we've put insects on here as well, as they're on the list. I know it's a concern, and we were joking earlier that they can be the size of sparrows. But no, tell us about it. You told us before, we were joking, that there was no need. We shouldn't worry.
No, so with insect repellent in Southeast Alaska, it's generally fine. So you do tend to find that when you head out onto that Bering Sea itinerary again. Actually, that is one I would recommend some insect repellent on. When you get onto the tundra islands, the mosquitoes can be bad there, and as they like to say in Alaska, the mosquito is the state bird. So they are quite impressive, both in size and number. And actually, the big ones aren't the ones you need to worry about. It's the little ones that are harder to catch. But generally speaking, in Southeast, it's not too much of a worry.
Brilliant. So yeah, just come prepared as if you were going on holiday to those places, and then you won't be missed out. So yeah, remember your seasickness, your mosquito repellent or insect repellent, and no need for a medical form. But yeah, make sure you bring your medications with you, as the supplies on the ship are limited. Okay, so I missed the introduction from Verena, but I'm sure it was amazing. But we know Alaska's an absolutely incredible wilderness state that conjures up all sorts of different images in our minds. Some few fantastic pictures here, and I'm glad that we have got a picture, not all blue skies. So we do get varied weather and conditions. But Alistair, on board we do a number of different things, and I know we've covered it elsewhere, but we'll go through a few slides with pretty pictures. What type of activities will our fellow explorers get up to on these trips?
So on these trips, the first thing is don't discount just getting out on deck on board the vessel. It's a fantastic opportunity. There's narrow waterways to sail through with the ship, so spending time out on the deck is actually a really great way to see the landscape on this voyage. In addition to that, there's getting out in the boats, going out zodiac cruising. And again, that's a great way to get up close and personal. The thing to remember about that is, for example, the bottom left-hand picture. When you're out in icy waters close to glaciers, it's a little bit like zodiac cruising in a margarita. It will be cold, so you do need to bring those warmer layers to wear underneath. It's also worth pointing out that Southeast Alaska is a temperate rainforest, so you want to be warm and dry. And I was looking up Ketchikan in Southeast, which we don't go to, but we sail right by, gets up to 3.5 meters of rain a year. So it is a lot.
That's more than Wales.
It's more than Wales, more than Scotland even, where I am. But so do definitely recommend, you really do need to bring waterproof trousers so you can enjoy being outside as well. Of course, we'll provide you a waterproof jacket. So as I say, with the activities, there's the Zodiac cruising. We also have sea kayaking, was something you'll be able to do throughout the voyage. That is done at an additional charge. But again, it's a great way to get out and experience the tranquility that Alaska has to bring. There'll also be some opportunities to go out and do some hikes in one or two places as well, depending on which itinerary you're on as well. So it's a great way to travel through the landscape. And the wildlife, I saw somebody asked a question about what wildlife will we see. This is one of the things I really, really love about Alaska, is just the sheer diversity and mass of wildlife. You've got, the humpback whales, particularly in places like Frederick Sound. You've got the Steller sea lions. You've got the Dall's porpoise, northern fur seals up in the Bering Sea, the orca and the sea otters, of course, found throughout. So, and that's just in the water, let alone you've got the bears that are all through this landscape. It's just a matter of spotting them, as well as moose up in the interior, and look on all the cliffs that you see to see if you can see any mountain goats. They're often in the most surprising places as well. And particularly if you're on that Bering Sea itinerary, you'll also go into Geographic Harbour, which is just an incredible place for do some brown bear spotting as well. But bears are found throughout these itineraries. The biggest challenge of spotting them in Southeast is the fact that there's trees everywhere. So finding the bears below the trees or the black bears up in the trees is always, that's why those binoculars are so important.
Hence the binoculars. And just sometimes we get people say, what's a Zodiac? But a Zodiac is the small boats. It's actually a brand name, but it's for the small inflatable boats used. Everybody says Zodiacs, but they're the small inflatable boats. So they're the workhorse of any expedition to be able to get you to and from the ship and give you amazing on the water experiences. You mentioned lots of big animals there, but Verena, what's going on here with these guys?
Well, there is also an incredible diversity of birds. We do have the biggest population of the emblematic bald eagles, which are the symbol of Americans. The biggest populations are found in Alaska, as well as other incredible birds like the oyster catchers that you have here on your right-hand side, and the snow buntings, which are small passerine like birds, and herons and puffins, and there is a wide variety of birds as well. So binoculars, super important, so that you can also enjoy the encounters with the birds.
So I think it's fair to say, out of all the itineraries we do, just that diversity of wildlife is incredible. And I think Alistair's point about spending time out on deck, unfortunately, wildlife doesn't come to see us. We need to be looking, and you've got to be looking to see. So spending that time, whether it's out on the small boats, on the out on deck, or enjoying one of our amazing cocktails in the Explorer Lounge, looking out the window, I think there's a lot to see all the time. And it's just a feast for the eyes, let alone the scenery. But we have an incredible expedition team. Alistair heads up the expedition teams, and Verena heads up all our guest learning, our science and education programs. So they work very closely together on providing incredible experiences. Part of that are the activities on board the ship. So Verena, do you want to talk us through what all our explorers here can expect when they're on board?
Well, yes, I mean, the amazing wildlife and scenery that we will experience, we would also like to help you dig deeper into all of this, and this through a series of lectures led by our expedition staff, which are some of them very knowledgeable on their specific areas of expertise. We try to combine the lectures with more hands-on activities so that you can get a more personal feeling of what you are learning. We have our science centers. We have them equipped with microscopes that will allow you to discover the microscopic life in the ocean, for example, or the minerals in the rocks that we will be collecting or showing you from our collection of rocks on board the ships. And we will invite you to participate in workshops where we will deal in deeper details of what we are experiencing. Our staff will also lead wildlife watches on deck. So again, join every opportunity to be outside and discover the wildlife. And we will also invite you to participate in a series of different citizen science projects that we support. If you are interested in participating in the citizen science projects, here are some of the ones that we support. We have eBird, we have iNaturalist. We will be running what we call our science boat, where we will invite you to join us, collect samples and oceanographic data. And one of those, or one of the instruments that we will be using is called a Secchi disc, and there is a specific app for this project. So our lovely Alice, who is helping us with the questions in the background, she will post a screenshot of this particular slide if you're interested in preparing yourself and downloading all these applications so that you can participate in the citizen science projects as well. Then fantastic, we will be very happy, our team will be very happy to guide you and help you with this.
And I think it's you know, you've got me addicted to some of those apps, Verena. And very much, although we use them on board, they're available to be used worldwide and at home. So things like Merlin Bird ID that you can set and hear a bird singing away, and it will tell you what the bird is. It's absolutely amazing. And also things like iNaturalist that crowdsources information on what a different species are. So a really good way of continuing learning after the voyage in places you go. So we very much want you all to go away with sort of more enthused energy about the natural environment and places you are, as well as the incredible places you're going to be seeing on board the ship.
But also,
Verena, go.
The culture and community. I mean, it's a super rich cultural place, Alaska. Alistair, you live there, so you know a lot about those different cultures and indigenous populations. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the great misconceptions is that there's sort of an indigenous culture in Alaska, and that's not true at all. There's a huge diversity of indigenous cultures in Alaska. And so depending on the voyages, for example, if you go through the Inside Passage, primarily you'll get to meet the Tlingit, who are in southeast Alaska. When you go out into the Bering Sea, you'll also meet the Alutiiq, for example, up on the Pribilofs. So huge diversity of both language and culture. But then on top of that, you have the other layers. You've got a lot of Russian heritage in Alaska. Alaska actually used to be the capital of Russian America. So that's still very strongly felt today, and you'll see a lot of evidence of that Russian culture in places like Sitka, for example. And then as you got pictures here, the fishing industry. Fishing is just a major part of life in Alaska, particularly southeast, and also actually in southwest down in Dutch Harbor. So it's an incredibly important industry, and a lot of focus and discussion. You'll see boats around, but Alaska has some of the best managed fisheries in the world for perpetuity. So they take that very seriously. So I think you'll find there's really interesting different aspects of the different pieces of history and culture and community throughout the voyage.
And Alistair, on a day-to-day basis on these itineraries, obviously depending on where we are, some days are very scenic, rich, like the background of this picture, but other days when we're visiting communities. What can our guests expect when they visit a community? I'm leading on to the next bit in terms of activities and those pieces, but what's a day look like?
So when visiting a community, in all the communities we'll have an included experience, an activity in order to experience and learn about the community and engage with them. So that could be everything from a walking tour, a community visit to like the community center. But so every day there'll be that opportunity. There'll also be free time as well to explore that community on your own. And I really do encourage people to take that as well. And then also in many of these communities, you'll also have the opportunity to add, like say, the icing on the cake for those optional excursions as well, for if you're wanting to delve a little deeper into a certain aspect or go off and have a different experience from the main group. So we definitely have those opportunities as well. And then when we're talking about the sort of normal included activities, we have things like nature landings up in William Henry Bay, an opportunity to go to land and go on hikes. The picture, the community visit there, that's up in Dutch Harbor. And again, as I said, there's fantastic museums there in Dutch Harbor, really interesting World War II history, for example, and a chance to walk around the community as well. In places like Alert Bay, I believe that is, with the cultural experiences, there is an opportunity there to go and experience and have a community performance to get to experience the culture there in Alert Bay. So lots and lots of different things to do. Most of them, every day there'll be free things, included activities, and then as mentioned, a small number with additional charge.
So to book, and again, there's been questions of how to book your excursions. All excursions are bookable on board, and we do try and adjust the availability depending on the bookings. If you would like to pre-book any of your excursions, if there's something you're like really desperate to go on, then on the website, on your specific voyage, you should get a landing page like this, and in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a excursions and activities button that will lead you to the excursions on a sort of day-by-day basis for your itinerary based on the name of the port. And it will then ask you, so you can read information about the excursion, and then you need to call or email the contact details for your market, if you're in the US market, etc., to make the booking. I'm afraid at the moment there's no automatic online booking process, but that's the system we have at the moment. But we're aware that the current system isn't super user friendly, but that is something that the team, our web team, are working on. So currently a bit more of a manual process, looking through what you'd like to do and then phoning through. But all excursions are bookable on board. Okay, we've covered a lot of the day-to-day and the itineraries, the activities, the richness of the biodiversity, and so plenty to see and do to keep you busy. What I would say with that, we aim to offer more than it's probably practically possible to do. We want you to be able to choose what you want through the day. So it's very much up to you. So if you want to do something, do it. If you don't, then don't be too concerned. It's your holiday at the end of the day. And then some practical points. Everybody that joins a HX trip needs a valid passport with at least 6 months validity in there. So please make sure your passports are up to date. For these itineraries, we are, of course, departing from Canada, going into Alaska, and then, depending where we are, back into Canada. Both those countries require electronic travel authority or an ESTA, so please make sure yours are up to date. Depending on where you are coming from in the world, please make sure or check that if you do need a visa beyond the ESTA and ETA, travel requirements. So those are your responsibilities. So please check those. At the moment, all borders are open and free for travel. So we're not at the moment we don't have concerns about that. But if the situation changes, then of course we will monitor that. But so we will be keeping an eye on that. But everything is open. So please just check your travel documentation is up and correct. One of the things which is great about Alaska is there is so much literature and material that you can read. And these are just a few suggestions. There are all some great ones. One that I put in here was Into the Wild by John Krakauer, which is that crazy story of the guy going into a bus and spending the winter, which didn't turn out very well. But some incredible stories about the wilderness of Alaska. Alistair, you put the native people of Alaska. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Oh, actually, I'm afraid that wasn't me.
Oh,
but
who was that one then?
But I would definitely recommend reading up on the native cultures of Alaska. As I said, there's just huge diversity and depth, which is often just not realized. And I think having lived there, I would highly recommend reading up on the native people of Alaska, trying to educate yourself more and more about just the incredible stories. And like with all histories, there's some very positive stories, but also some very challenging stories. And it's really worth reading up on that history. The book I did put here was E.C. Pelew's Naturalist Guide to the Arctic. E.C. Pelew is a fantastic writer, very accessible writer. So when I was graduating from university and just becoming a guide, this was a great way to educate myself about what happens in all of the Arctic, but it includes Alaska as well. So definitely, if you're interested in the natural world, it's a great introduction to that.
And of course, birds, Verena.
Birds, well, there is a very good guide that covers all the species that you can find in Alaska. It's the one from the National Audubon Society. But then again, we mentioned the Merlin ID app, and that one really is worth having on your devices. As per Tudor's words, you can identify the birds just by the mere sound they produce. So it's really amazing.
Yeah, but some fantastic books, some fantastic resources on the internet, so all sorts of places. So prepare as you wish, but the more we love learning. So looking and watching and reading, and of course there's plenty of films to prepare you and excite you, ready for your journey. So in terms of just some practical details about 30 days prior to the trip, then we will be sharing the travel documents with you, and that will have details of hotels, the transfers, the meet and greet with our staff, and the contact details for your arrival and departure, and also some of the flight details. We have had one change, and those that are on one particular sailing that finishes on the 22nd of June will be finishing in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island rather than Vancouver. So you will have received a letter for that already. Should have gone to you for 10 days ago, but just in case, if you haven't, and just to reassure you, we'll be taking care of you. We'll be getting you back from Vancouver Island to Vancouver Airport with the transfers, etc. So that is taken care of. If you are on that sailing and you are booking your own flights and you have not booked them yet, then please don't book a flight before 4 o'clock in the afternoon of that day. But if there are any concerns, then please do call our team and they will help you out. But that is just for this one particular sailing, when we will finish the sailing on the 22nd of June. So everything else will remain the same. The only one part, unfortunately, is that the excursion to Whistler is cancelled due to this change, due to the time. but you will receive an update. So I think we're getting towards the end of where we're talking, and we'll hand it over to questions. You will already have our customer service center detail numbers because you made a booking, but just in case, here they are again. But we will hand over for questions now. So I think, Verena, you can stop sharing screen so we can spotlight on ourselves. And Alice, can you feed us some questions, please?
Cool.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Alice. I'm just here to help in the background. I have no idea if you can see me. It was just a few questions because Olga behind the scenes has been doing a great job as always and answered most of them. A question about if there's any risk for high waves. A round of one.
Alistair, we'll put you onto the seafaring the ship.
Yeah, so I guess that one's a little bit hard, just as far as the definition of a high wave might be quite different for those of us who've been on board, for those who haven't. So yes, as I said, the Gulf of Alaska is the one day where if there was a storm system rolling through, it can definitely be rough out in the Gulf of Alaska. And as mentioned, the Bering Sea, again, if it blows up there, it can get to reasonably big waves up there. Nothing that would endanger the vessel in any way, shape, or form, but just that it can be less comfortable, particularly if you're somebody susceptible to seasickness.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And our ships, Amundsen and Nansen, are, I would say, pretty stable. They ride the seas very well. We also have stabilizers that will be put out if the seas are slightly rougher, which do dampen the movement. So there's yeah. So I think we're in a pretty good state. But again, everybody's different and how they feel the motion of the ocean.
Very true. I think you briefly covered this, Tudor, but again, just advice for Canadian travellers, any potential entry issues with the US specifically. Just again, is it just a point of monitoring or is there any further advice you can offer on that?
I think at the moment, just very much monitoring the situation. At the moment, we don't see any circumstances. Tourism is a massive industry in Alaska and Canada. So it's a big part of the industry there. So we don't see anything, but we will, of course, be monitoring it like all our destinations.
Absolutely. Perfect. That's great. Is it helpful to bring a spotting scope? Do you know?
Verena. What do you think of spotting scopes?
Don't forget that you will be on a ship. So if it is static, then yes, you could use your scope for spotting wildlife. But if it's if we are sailing, it may be not as practical as a pair of binoculars. So yes, do bring a pair of binoculars if you can, but also bring the ones that you feel comfortable with. Don't buy a specific expensive pair just for this trip. Bring the ones that you know how to use and that you are comfortable with using already.
And I think people with scopes that have them on a monopod are quite good because you can move. If you have them on a tripod, it's very fixed.
Yes.
So if you are a ornithologist and love using a scope with for birds, then I would suggest using a monopod on the ship.
Yeah, and the monopod would also maybe help a bit with the ship movement as opposed to the tripod. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's really great. Thank you. Also good to know what a spotting scope is. Someone's queried on the gear that's used during the kelp snorkeling excursion. Is there any further details you can give on that? Maybe what's included, what's not?
Yeah, so on the kelp snorkeling, you get transported out to the snorkel site by the local operator. They'll be providing you with all the equipment needed to use on that, other than your swimsuit, I should point out. So do make sure you have that. But so things like wetsuits, booties, gloves, hoods, to make sure. Obviously, the water is quite cold, so they'll have all the right equipment there to keep you nice and warm. Just be sort of skin around your mask that would be exposed. So hopefully you find that perfectly comfortable and a great adventure. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do.
Thank you, Alistair. Someone's asked about the protocol if empty spur volcano erupts. Is there things in place for that kind of stuff?
If we have a volcanic eruption, I think in all our itineraries, wherever we are in the world, there's natural hazards, and of course, part of the Alaskan chain and the Cascades chain, all the way through that the Pacific Plate is active volcanic area. So we do monitor things, any active volcanic activities, and if there are issues, we would make a change as required. So we do have, say, protocols in place for making changes and monitoring all our activities.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I think we're coming to the end of the questions, in all honesty. I can see Olga's still answering, but I've seen some people mention crampons. Are these necessary on an Alaska trip, or is that something you can leave behind?
No, not at all.
No.
And crampons for people are basically spikes that go on your boots to give traction in really cold, sort of icy conditions. And some people have walking crampons, which are just like little springs that go on the bottom, but not an issue or not required for these itineraries. We're in the peak of summer, and the mosquitoes like it. Mosquitoes don't like ice.
That's a
That
good
fair,
thing.
Alistair?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the wildlife will find out patches of snow to go and lie on because there's less mosquitoes over them.
Yeah.
Someone's asked if anyone ever brings a fishing pole and fishes at the port stops. Is that something that people can do, or?
So I could take that one if you want. I mean, if you do so, you would be absolutely responsible to make sure you've got all the correct licensing. Alaska takes licensing for fishing incredibly seriously. So if you want to, you just please do make sure that you're absolutely across all of the regulations and licenses. What I would actually say typically is that the fishing near the ports usually isn't particularly good. And certainly from my travels up there, I don't think I've really seen anyone fishing that close in. Usually the fishing is much further out, either from a boat, people hire a local boat to go fishing, or head off to particular spots down the shoreline, but not usually close to the port. So it might not work that well for you.
I think licensing is the big red flag there.
Don't want to get caught out.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's great to know. Thank you. And also a few people have mentioned just the weather in general, late May, and someone's flagged, is there any chance of seeing the Northern Lights at all?
So I can take both those. The weather in late May, it's still quite cool in May, so you often have snow quite low on the hills, on the mountains. But again, the big feature of the weather is rain. There's always a strong possibility, so please just always make sure you can dress up warm and dry for that. But equally, just to say, you do often get some nice sun as well. So for me, the weather there is 4 seasons in one day sort of thing. So it's be prepared for everything. With the Northern Lights, I would also just say low chances in the summer. I mean, mainly because it's very, very long days. Again, cloud cover can be a challenge for that as well. But also really the time of year, it's much more prevalent up there in the winter for seeing them. But end of season sometimes.
Yeah, end of season. Yeah, particularly that last sailing. Yeah.
Agree.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Sorry, I said we were done and now there's a few more, so I'm going to keep going. What have we got? Do any of the excursions allow for hikes onto a glacier, or is that something that's prohibited?
So from memory, I don't think any of our excursions that we're offering do have hikes onto a glacier. We don't offer it as an activity ourselves. Obviously, it comes with significant risks around crevassing, and so it's not an activity that we offer. But I don't believe we offer any shore excursions onto glaciers themselves.
Okay, brilliant stuff. And someone's just flagged about assistance on getting in and out the zodiacs. I just thought you could give some reassurance on that because I know the team are wonderful in that aspect.
Shall I start on that one, Alistair, and you
Feel
continue?
free, fire away.
Yeah. So obviously getting on and off the ship and on and off the zodiacs at the on land. We have a team will be on both sides to help you on and off and be guided by the driver. So usually we have one person in the boat, one person shoreside or on the ship helping you in and out at all times. And then in terms of what we do ask of you is to just follow the instructions of the driver of the boat in terms of not standing up randomly to take a photo. I know with myself, I get very excited when I see something, but just be aware of the stability of the boat in terms of if everybody jumped up and jumped on one side to take a photo. So to follow those, follow the instructions of the driver. And then also, I know we get questions about how easy it is to get in and out of the boat. If you can, basically the boat is the chambers on each side of the boat are a big floating soft, or not that soft, but a big nice bench seat. So being able to stand up and sit down from a bench seat is the important part, because you'll be helped into in and out of the boat. So standing up and down and being able to swivel your legs over the bench seat, again, if needed, there will be help to get you out at nature landing. But yeah, it's all very civilized, and safety is is our top priority, I should say. So making sure you're safe and happy to do all these things is really important to us, and we will be there to assist.
Thank you, Tudor. Someone's asked an interesting question about, is there a facility for dark sky viewing? We got that on board.
Verena?
For what, sorry?
Looking at stars.
Yeah, pretty much.
Come again?
For viewing stars.
Stargazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some of our expedition team members are really, really keen on stars and like to go out during the night to do some stargazing. So just reach out to the expedition team and try to plan something with them, would be my advice.
Brilliant.
The top of the ship, of course, in terms of safety, we have to keep a certain level of lights on. But if we do get a clear night and it is good for viewing, then we can turn the lights down, which the lights are downward facing. So part of it is getting enough night vision to look up. But yeah, definitely on a clear night, then there's opportunity to do that. But bear in mind, we are there in peak summer. So although it does get dark, it's getting darker later.
Yeah.
Great to know, though. I'm sure it'll be stunning regardless. Someone's asked about how much time they get to explore Nome.
So in Nome, it really depends on the time of the flight arrival. That's not always known at this point. It can be variable depending on weather and also slots for bringing the planes in. So it can vary. There is usually time to have a walk around and explore, though. Nome itself is obviously got very interesting history. It's really quite small, though, so you don't need a lot of time to wander around in Nome. But so you should have time to have a little look around and a little explore.
Enough time. That's great. Someone has asked about the special insurance. So for Antarctica, you need one for evacuation and stuff. Is there any specifications with Alaska?
Now, we recommend that everybody has travel insurance that covers expedition ships, cruise ships, so that make sure you have that insurance cover. So not just land-based insurance, but also that covers you on a ship. So you are covered. Of course, being in territorial waters, then there are there's rescue service available, but of course we do end up quite a way in remoter areas. So getting people, if there's a need, then we will have to take care of you. Of course, on the ships we have a doctor and 2 nurses and full medical facilities as well. So we do try and be as self-sufficient as possible, but yeah, we do ask everyone to have medical insurance.
Is there any part of the route that is weather dependent in May, and are there any planned alternatives?
So from my experience, I'd say no. All of the route should be perfectly accessible. Yeah, I can't think of anywhere that wouldn't be weather accessible.
Brilliant.
So as I say, you might have a bumpy day on the Gulf, but other than that, it should all be fine.
Brilliant stuff.
And if we did have to change something, then it would be a change generally. So we always try and look at have a plan B. I'm just thinking the further, not in May, but the later trips that were up in the islands. Sometimes the swell can be up high.
And that's certainly true. So the Bering Sea itineraries, you're absolutely right. Those are the ones where you'd have more risk up at St. Paul and St. Matthew as well.
So, got a few guests asking about if there are any wet landings.
So there's a wet landing at William Henry Bay, and also if you're on the Bering Sea itinerary up to Nome, there are also wet landings there. I did see people were asking about boots, and so of course we do have rubber boots that we'd provide for wet landings as well.
Mm-hmm. And any sea ice on the July-August cruises to Nome specifically?
So I was going to say no, definitely not, but then I have once had it. So never say never, but no, it's highly unlikely. Usually it's gone by that point, but there's always a very small chance. But you are likely to see glacial ice near the glaciers, but not sea ice up in the Bering Sea, typically.
Someone's flagged if there is a risk of avian flu affecting any of the expeditions. Is that the case in Alaska, or how does it work?
So I can start, and maybe Verena or Alaskan can join. So avian influenza affecting birds, but also mammals. Seals has been around now in North America for a number of years. So I think probably even 3 years now, and it seems to be under control. Species are either got a resistance or it's mutated to a less effect. Everywhere we go, there is that risk. So we do conduct pretty good biosecurity in cleaning boots and equipment between landing sites to make sure we don't take that we as humans are not a vector of taking disease from one site to another. Although the biodiversity and the wildlife in Alaska is absolutely incredible, but we're not visiting high densities of like a penguin colony in Antarctica where we're walking through a colony. So the risk to us is less. So yes, there's definitely a risk, and it's something that we monitor and we'll be going through the whole time. But not. I think for me it's not fresh, and there is now the resistance, particularly in the northern hemisphere. Verena's nodding, so I've said the right thing. Always dangerous when you have a scientist in there.
Pass the test.
Okay, Alice, I think you were indicating that we're almost there. I know there's lots of individual questions that are maybe more personals that we haven't necessarily taken here, but I know Olga and team and Anna have been answering in the background individual questions. We do have the ability to follow up with questions afterwards, after the webinar. And if there are still further questions, then please feel free to reach out to our service team, who will take the questions directly, either by email or by phone. no problem at all to take your questions at any time. At the end of the webinar, of course, you will get a recording, but there will also be we will ask you for some feedback, and we would like some feedback so we can try and improve and give you a better webinar next time. So please do take some time to give us some instant feedback after the webinar. But we'd like to thank you all very much for joining us today, and very excited for our Alaska season to be just around the corner. So yeah, I'm very excited to be joining one of the trips again this year. So very much look forward to being in Alaska again. But thank you so much, and we look forward to welcoming you on board. I think that's everything from us. I'm just going to check with Lee, who's runs us all and keeps us happy. Are we all okay, Lee?
We are. We're great. Everything is perfect, and I will collect all the unanswered questions and forward those along to Olga and team.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to welcoming you on board. Yeah, goodbye. Thanks.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Alice.
Goodbye, everyone. This concludes our webinar. Welcome to our HX webinar. This is your Alaska pre-departure briefing, and we're delighted to be here with all of you.